How are you doing today? I'm Clinton from GODsHAND Studios, and today we will be discussing Workspace in Adobe Premiere Pro. So in Adobe Premiere Pro, a workspace is simply an arrangement of panels and tools narrowed to a specific task like editing, color correction, graphics, or audio mixing. If you don't know what panels are in Premiere Pro, that's exactly what we discussed in our previous tutorial. So I'll put a link to this in this video description. Please ensure to watch that tutorial before this one so you don't miss out on any of the details. So when arranging panels in Adobe Premiere Pro, let me quickly switch to a neutral workspace. Okay, let's say I'm in assembly. Close this down so it will look similar to what you have. Okay. Alright, let's say this is what I'm working with. So when arranging panels in Adobe Premiere Pro, there are no strict rules or guidelines that you have to follow in order to do it. Like I just said, we've discussed panels in our previous tutorial. So a workspace is just you arranging that panel in a way that will suit your workflow, suit what you are doing. So for instance, let's say you are doing color grading. There is a particular panel that you will use that will make your color grading process easier. And this may entail arranging your lumetri scope, arranging your lumetri color panel, arranging the effects panel in a way that it will suit you. And let's say you are doing editing, let's say video editing or audio mixing. There is a way you arrange your audio panels in order to suit your workflow. So for instance, I'll be rearranging my panels now for video editing, and this is the panel I use most times when I'm doing video editing. And most times if I'm doing editing, if I have the time, depending on what I'm doing, I'll also be color correcting my clips. I'll start by asking myself where I want the timeline to be, how I want the project to look like for it to suit what I'm doing, and maybe my audio meters as well. Okay, let me go ahead and import a video. Let me import it and create a folder for it. And let me create a new folder for my sequence. Alright, okay, so this is what I'm working with. Alright, so I'll ask myself, with respect to what I want to do to this clip, how would I want the timeline to look like? The major thing we are doing whenever we are arranging a workspace is basically making decisions of the location we want our panel to be and the area we want it to occupy. For instance, I could take this sequence here, click on it, and move it to any location of my choice. And wherever I move it to, that is where it will stay. So if I want, I could start editing my video here while the audio takes the whole of this space. This is where we say that it's basically you doing something that suits your personal preference. Why would I want my audio meter to take over all the space where I'm editing in this small space? When you decide a panel that is important to you and the location you want it to be, and you figured out the area you want it to occupy, you could basically move this panel by just clicking on the name and dragging it to the location of your preference. Then you can size it up by clicking at the edge and moving it to occupy that area. Let's say there is another panel I want here that is not here. Okay, for instance, I normally hand the source panel over here. I use it to select and trim my videos properly. So I'll come here and go for the source monitor. So let's say I pulled up the source panel and it's here. I could just move it, drag it from the name and place it at the location of my preference. You understand? And let's say you don't want it to be docked to any particular space, you just want it to float on the interface. So you can click on this bar here and select undock panel. So it is now on its own separate window. So if you want, you can choose not to place it or dock it to any particular space. And also, I normally will want my lumetri color to occupy this whole area because of its length. So I will just go to Windows, go for lumetri color. Here is it, and it's already occupying there. And like I said, if it's not there or it went to a separate location, I could just drag and drop. So let me trim it so it doesn't take the whole of the space because I'm not doing color grading yet. Adjust this one back, and the program I think is occupying more space than it should. So let me keep it like this side. And one more thing, there is this concept popularly known as pancake timeline this is having two timelines open on a particular workspace. And you do this by, let's say I have two sequence on my clip. Let me say sequence 2. Okay, and as you can see, I have two sequences here on my timeline, but I can only view one at a time. Let's say I want to view the both of them at a time. Let's say this one have its own separate clips too, and I want to view the both of them at once. So what I will do is I will click on this, then drag it down here or any other location I want it to be. So by doing that, I now have two sequences on my workspace, so I could view the both of them. So instead of clicking back and forth to see the content, I could just click on them separately. And if you want, you can just move it to any location of your preference. So for instance, what I normally do is selecting one sequence, I'm moving it down here, so I could edit them side by side. I will still show you the reason why I do this when we start doing the actual video editing tutorial. So I will show you the reason behind this. So once you have reached the optimal arrangement of your panels, or you don't want to be doing this process all the time, you could save this particular workspace so that you don't have to arrange this anytime you open Premiere Pro, or let's say you mistakenly move something. You understand? So that means you want to save the panel, and you do this by going to your Windows workspace. You will see these workspaces I've saved and the inbuilt Premiere Pro workspaces. But what you want to do is come to save as new workspace and then name it anything you want to name it. Let me say workspace tutorial. As you can see, I've saved this workspace. So let's say I switched to a different workspace and I want to come back to that workspace. I don't have to do it all the time. I could just basically go to Windows workspaces, then workspace tutorial, and it will bring it with the precise arrangement. And let's say I mistakenly moved the audio meter, or maybe mistakenly rearranged the panel, I could get to the original panel by just going to Windows workspace, reset saved layout, or Alt-Shift-0. So whether you hit this button or you press Alt-Shift-0 on your keyboard, it's going to reset your workspace to the one you arranged before. Okay, and for instance, you can see that there is something odd here. My audio meters is not where it should be. You can see is in the same position where my sequence would normally be. So I could just select the audio meter and move it back here and resize it to be in its proper position. So if I do this, I know that this is an error. So what I will do is to go to Windows and save changes to workspace, so that this does not repeat itself again. So let's say I mistakenly undock my Lumetri scope, or I was closing it. So let's say I mistakenly undock my program. So I could just hit Alt-Shift-0 and it will rearrange it to my optimal workspace. And you can also come to this icon here, workspaces, click on it, and you can see the various workspaces you have in your Adobe Premiere Pro. You can, let's say that there are workspaces you don't want to appear here, or some you want to appear that are not appearing here. You can just go to edit workspaces, then the ones you don't want to appear, you drag them to don't show. Let's say all panels, text-based editing, what else? Let's say vertical or essentials. Let's say you don't want all these, anyone you don't want to appear, just drag them down to don't show. And the ones you want to appear, the ones you want to view, you could just maybe change their way of arrangement. Just basically do anything you want to do, and when you are done, hit OK. And whenever you click on the workspaces, it will give you that same arrangement you used and remove the ones you drag to don't show. Alright, so that is it for this tutorial, guys. Hope you learned something new. If yes, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any questions, please drop it in the comment section, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye.